It's quite all right. Is the Republican Party has become known as really the party of Reagan, and you being one of the more public faces of the Republican Party for the last several months to year, what do you think of how the Republican Party has kind of shifted? When I was watching the primaries before this past election, there were 17 candidates, and having lived in Europe for a time, I can say that in a parliamentary system, those 17 people would have represented vastly different parties. The party of Jeb Bush would not have been the party of I'm blanking on their names now, but Marco Rubio. And how do you feel that that relates to America? And you were speaking of consistency. I feel this election really came down to a lot of consistency. Trump told the same message over and over again, and his base elected him for it. The Democratic Party couldn't shift into that. They could not find a consistent message.
Common ground.
Yeah, there was no common ground. Do you think that the consistency that got Trump elected is going to fall apart, knowing how vast the rift is between the different branches of the Republican Party into another libertarian party or a situation similar to it?
All right, well, let me just start out by asking you guys a question. Raise your hand on this broadcast.
All right.
If you think Paul Ryan loves Donald Trump. Raise your hand if you think Paul Ryan loves Donald Trump.
Absolutely not.
No.
Okay. So what about Mitch McConnell? Raise your hand. You think Mitch McConnell loves Donald Trump?
Not remotely.
Okay, so these guys absolutely hate the guy's guts. Okay, so and they can say whatever they want. I was there at the rodeo. I watched Reince Priebus do everything he could to try to prevent Donald Trump from becoming the primary candidate. You know, he did not want him to win that nomination. And so what
Chris
Trump
had a dog named Reince Priebus, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Chris had a dog named Reince Priebus, by the way.
Well, I mean, I know this is a family show, but my nickname for that guy is Rancid Penis. Okay? That guy,
no, this is not a family show.
It's not a family show.
I'm being sarcastic when I say.
No, you say whatever you want, sir.
I've watched the show. I'm being sarcastic. Okay? What I'm saying is this guy was a horrific human being. I mean, I have never met a guy like this. He would front up like a Richie Cunningham from Happy Days.
Right.
Golly gee shucks, I'm from the Midwest with the Midwestern, inoffensive accent. And he would come at you like a Sith Lord, okay, whipping a double-edged lightsaber, okay, into the back, okay. So, when you say I'm a face of the Republican Party, I think it's funny, Chris, because I hate these Republicans. Okay, I think that they have failed. The establishment Republicans have failed the country. I think the establishment Democrats, for that matter, have also failed the country. Now, whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, he does represent something. He represents 62.8 million people putting a complaint in the customer suggestion box that, hey, you people suck. I'm giving you the heads up, okay?
Yeah.
You racked up a $21 trillion deficit on its way to 22. You killed 1 million people in the Middle East. Our infrastructure's crumbling. The educational system is uneven. What'd you guys do? You were on watch on these trade deals for a quarter of a century.
Wow.
You never renegotiated any of them, even though you had the rights to.
Yeah.
But you did figure out a way to gerrymander yourself into office and stay in office perpetually. So it's interesting. The Republicans, Chris, certainly don't think I am their face. They run from me because I hate these guys. Okay. Now let me tell you something though. Okay. They are fraidy cat scared of Trump.
Yeah, they are.
Fraidy cat.
No doubt about that.
If they weren't fraidy cat scared of Trump, they would stand up to Trump and they would hit him in between the eyes on the things that they don't like.
Which a handful of them do. But what the hell happened to Lindsey Graham? He was one of those that would stand up, and now he crumbles like a little puppy.
I don't know. You'd have to invite him on the pocket. I like Lindsey.
Yeah, he ain't coming.
And I get the fact that he's in South Carolina and his base and his voters love Trump. So maybe he's had to morph himself because of that. And
that's what I think.
A lot of things about the president I genuinely like, and there's some things about the president, frankly, that I don't like at all.
Well, you were critical of him before he got elected, if I remember correctly. Am I right on that?
Well, only because he was fighting with me. Okay, he started that fight. You may not remember this, but the Saturday after he hired me, he sent out a tweet. He said, in fairness to Anthony Scaramucci, I picked that fight with him. And so I'm a New Yorker. once he started shooting bullets at me,
yeah,
I started shooting bullets right back at him.
Well, of course, yeah.
You know, and by the way, unlike these establishment guys where he just slayed you want to talk about wrestling? He threw 18 guys out of the rink.
Yeah,
this guy basically mopped the floor. And I'll tell you guys, if you don't like Trump and you want somebody to beat Trump, they better really think about who they're going to nominate, because if they nominate one of these establishment people, he's going to what makes anybody think if he killed 17 or 18 establishment people last time, that them nominating a cookie cutter establishment person is going to allow them to win this time? That's not going to happen.
I would like your opinions on two people on the Democratic side that look like they're going to run. One's already running. I don't think Beto's made a decision yet, right?
I heard running make
Beto and Kamala. What are your opinions on them?
Well,
and what chance do you feel they have?
Okay, well, I went to full disclosure. I went to Israel and coincidentally intersected with Kamala's trip to Israel, and so we spent some time together. Herself and my.
I personally like her.
Yeah, she's a very elegant person. She's a very tough person. She can draw a crowd, as you could see from her event. But
at least in Oakland.
Yeah, but her policies are so far to the left, guys. Okay, yeah. The country's not there.
Yeah.
And so those moderates will hold their nose and vote for Trump if she's the nominee.
Oh, okay? Wow.
Beto's a different person. Beto has
I like him as well. Yeah,
Beto has a star power to him. Beto is a fearless person. I like directionally where Beto is going. But again, the problem with Beto is that it's almost like the media loves him so much that the average American
will turn on him.
Exactly. They would be like, okay, wait a minute. They love him a little bit too much,
Like Cena.
Yeah.
A lot of the crowd turns on him because too many people love him too much.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Because America likes that underdog. America likes that gritty person.
Right.
And so, but I mean, those are two good candidates, but I've got to be very honest with you guys. I don't see those guys beating President Trump. Remember, President Trump is coming into the race with $1.5 billion. He's already president. He will not have to face anybody in a primary. If there are 23 people in that primary, they are going to knife and razor cut each other.
That's how I see it.
And whoever wins is going to be halfway bled out and scarred up coming in. Oh, and by the way, whoever wins runs against him is going to have an internationally recognized nickname.
Oh yeah, you're right there. What chances do you give? And my pick against them is their age. I think we need to have an age limit as to who can run for president. I think we have too many people that are in there too long, too old, too set in their ways, can't be swerved on anything, no matter what it is. And I'm talking about Biden, who I personally like, and who's your guy? The one you all liked last year? Not Kasich.
Oh, Sanders.
Sanders. Yeah. Like both of them. The age concerns me, and maybe are they a little too set in their ways and cannot negotiate?
Yeah, I mean, in our society now, because that would be a form of ism, like racism or ageism. I don't think that would happen, but I'll tell you what.
I'm very ageism because I think 65 ought to be the cutoff.
Talk about Bernie Sanders for a second, okay? Had they gave him a legitimate chance in that primary, and he won that primary, he would have gave Trump a run for his money. He didn't tolerate Trump's nicknaming and stuff like that. He would have gone right at Trump on the stump.
He would have.
And don't forget this. They rigged that Democratic primary in a way that caused a lot of Bernie Sanders voters to disaffect from Secretary Clinton.
Yeah.
So once those voters realized, wait a minute, my guy really didn't have a chance. Devin Washington Schultz and Secretary Hillary Clinton rigged this so that she would win the nomination. All of that stuff came out on WikiLeaks, and it became clear that that's what they were doing. The average person on the Democratic side just walked away from it,
Yeah, I certainly see that. Chris?
You bring up the point of people who were upset about the primaries voting for Trump and people from the Republican Party using it as a way of protesting the way of the party for the last several years. also through Brexit, we've seen that people are now using votes as a form of protesting. I remember that after the Brexit vote was announced, people were saying, well, I didn't actually want this result. I was just trying to show that this was how I felt. Do you think that we're going to see this become more and more of a theme of people using votes less as a way of getting the candidate they want or the result they want, and more of a way of voicing displeasure?
Yeah.
We're actually get back to people trying to vote for a goal.
Yeah. So it's a really good question. I mean, that's the sociological issue of our time. But I'm just going to give you my gut feeling is that we have a fever right now. In the international Western democracies, we have a fever. And so that fever is yielding votes of protest, votes of anger, votes of complaint. And they're not solution-based votes. But let me say this, the candidates are also reflecting that. At the end of the day, the candidates that are lightning rods or polarizing, the Bolsonaro from Brazil, or you pick the guy in Italy, the new prime minister or president of Italy, President Trump.
Duterte in the Philippines.
Yeah, the guy in the Philippines. You go through the list. The candidates are reflecting the anger in the population. So what we actually really need, and I don't know who's going to step up and do this, but you need a likable adult. You know, I'm not saying Howard Schultz is dislikable. I'm not saying that at all. But Howard Schultz doesn't have the smash mouth, shock jock attitude of President Trump, or the star appeal of somebody like a Beto O'Rourke. You know, he's probably a great technocrat, had an amazing life story. I'm a Starbucks user, and I enjoy the company, and I know he's done a great job. But when I see him on the stump, I don't see enough fire in there where the average American that's less interested in politics than the three of us or the four of us is gonna jive into. So I mean, look at, you know, no offense to Mitt Romney, but just look, it was like flat soda. I mean, this guy was a great looking guy, looks like a Ken doll, but remember something about a Ken doll. When you pull the pants down on a Ken doll, they're flat in front, man.
Yeah.
You need somebody packing and dragging to make it happen, you know?
Yeah.